right, so we're going to now get used to using these chords. And say you're playing, just with yourself, you're playing a very common song like Blowing in the Wind. And we're going to be playing this in the key of G. And you can see, if you look at that key signature, right there's one hashtag, it means one sharp, and in the key of G, it's always an F sharp. So you always know what key you're in like that. Now, the way everybody usually plays the song is, okay, and what I did just for the sake of this, I just wrote every chord out. But you probably know the progression. If you don't know the progression, you can just sort of play along with this and have a good time just playing the open chords. And that's what most people would do. If you're in a jam session, if everybody's playing this, why should you? You want to add another color to it. And that's basically what we're going to be doing right now. We're going to use those chords, all those chords that we were learning, and we're going to start applying them now to the song Blowing in the Wind. So we're going to take this, and we have applying the chords in a jam session. Okay, that we just saw the part one, and now what we're going to do is we're going to do the next part, and here we're going to take the same exact progression. Like if somebody's playing the song, you're going to be playing the chords right along with them. When they change the chords, you're going to change the chords. You're going to be playing the same chords they're playing, but in different spots. Here, it starts off with the G chord and goes to a C chord. So from our chord inversions, this would be a G chord. This is the root note on the second string shape. And I put an interesting little rhythm to this. It's so if I'm counting 1, 2, 3, 4. So if someone's playing, you can do that. And if you're playing solo, you want to take a little. We can do something like that, and I'll show you how to do that. So let's take a look at the chords now. We have a G, and then we have the C chord like this with the root note on the third string. And then back to the G chord. Okay, now at this point we're going to go to a C chord and then move up to a D, and then we have the D7. So far we have before you can call him. And we could do that same thing. This is the second line. Notice I'm using that 7th chord, which really kind of, most people would not do that in a jam session or play the song that way. But I'm using that 7th chord in there. Anytime, if you take a look at the very first line, the end of the line here, you have a D chord. And the common way to play the song is the D chord would last for 2 measures before going to the G. But here's where that circle of 5th comes in. We're going back to the G chord, right? If we wanted to know the 5th of a G chord, and you look at your circle, when you're going clockwise, the next chord would be D. And a D chord will always lead you back to the G. If you're in the key of G, and if you use a D7, the 5 chord in the key of G, back to the 1. that creates a tension, and almost so many songs have that movement from a 5 to a 1. And that's basically what I did there. And let's take a look at just the third line. We're going to be using another inversion of a G chord. C chord. And then we're going to go into what I have there. I have this. The G chord. C chord. D chord. So if I was just to analyze that, we have a root note on our third string. That's our third string major chord shape. Our second string shape for a C chord, there's your C note. And back to your G. And I think what I did was this. I went to the G chord here, which is your third string shape. Now we go into a C chord. We're going to use our fourth string shape. And move that up to a D. And then to create that tension to getting back to the G chord, we're going to play a D7. Just like that. And now that's the 5 chord. Like I said before, that's the 5 chord, or what we call the dominant 7th in the key of G. D, 5th, the G. So we're going to go 5, back to the 1. Here I'm going to play the G chord. Right up in there. To the C chord. And then to that. And we're going to finally move this basically down. We have the G chord. And if we keep going through the song. And basically that's the alternate chords you can learn in Blowin' in the Wind. Now, another way of making them a little bit more interesting. Remember, we have that C chord. We have a C chord, say here. You could do this. Get that. So here we're just playing the chord just behind it and sliding up and then hitting it twice. If I was going to do that with a D chord, so that's another way that you can be applying this. Now, if I have the G chord, I'm going to slide it, and then into the C chord, back to the G chord, and then, that's just an example. Here on the last page, we have a G chord, C chord, D chord. You could use all of these just to slide into the chords that you know. If I was going to play Blowin' in the Wind with Now, you wouldn't do that through the whole song. You want to give yourself a little bit of, you want to give it a little bit of variety. So you can use different rhythms, you know. So you add different rhythms to these chords, and you will be adding a beautiful color to the song Blowin' in the Wind, or really to any song. Now, if you wanted to, if you wanted to just like play it as a solo, you could choose any of these chords and maybe just play the notes individually. You could sort of create a little solo for yourself before going into singing the next verse.